This story begins with Hashiman Hikigaya. He is an apathetic high school student who had to write an essay about youth in high school. The problem is that he thinks that youth is a vile deception and those who claim to enjoy youth lie to themselves, accepting secrets, sins, lies, and failures as a species of youth. Mr. Atsuka is not satisfied with his essay about his youthful days, and Hikigaya defends himself by answering her like a smart-ass, making her angry. He apologizes and says that he will rewrite it, but the teacher has a better punishment and takes him to a room. There was only one girl there. She is Yukinosha Yukino, a beautiful and intelligent girl. The teacher tells her that Hikigaya will join her club, but Yukino refuses because he looks like a thug with bad intentions. But Mr. Atsuka says that Hikigaya is a trustworthy boy. Despite how he looks, he is just a boy with a rotten spirit and a lonely soul. So Yukino considers it for a moment and finally accepts him into her club. Suddenly, Hikigaya remembers when he was rejected by a pretty girl. From that moment, he decided to make himself hated to avoid having that kind of feelings again. So he tries to intimidate Yukino, but it does not work. Then Yukino tells him that this club is the volunteer service club and she will rectify his problems. He says he has no problem and starts naming his skills. Then she comes to the conclusion that his loneliness is due to his stupid pride and contrary sensibility. But still, she says that if he can talk to her, he can talk to others. But Hikigaya says that he prefers not to chat meaninglessly with people. They continue arguing their points of view, so Miss Hiratsuka interrupts them and proposes a competition for who of the two does more services. The winner can order the loser to do anything. The next day, Hikigaya returns to the club and he starts talking to Yukino about friendship. He thinks that she has many friends and is popular, but she explains that because she is pretty, she has always aroused envy in girls, so she tries to help people in the world. Hikigaya thinks that they look a bit alike since she doesn't lie to herself like others. She knows that people aren't perfect, so he proposes to be friends, but she declines. After that, a girl enters the room. She is Yuigahama Yu. She's about to tell them her problem, but they misunderstand her and Hikigaya and Yukino start arguing again, but Yui thinks this club is very fun. So Yu asks them to help her make homemade cookies for someone. Then the girls will make cookies and he will taste them, but the first attempts are unsuccessful. While they continue to make cookies, Yukino gives Yu advice on life. The second batch of cookies are not so bad, but Yu is not satisfied. Then Hikigaya tells them that it's his turn. A while later, he makes them taste his cookies, and Yu says that they're not that bad. And Hikigaya reveals that they're Yu's cookies. He thinks that the person who receives those cookies will appreciate Yu's effort. Then Yu says that she will do it her way. A week later, Hikigaya and Yukino debate whether they have helped Yu. And suddenly, Yu walks into the club room with bags of homemade cookies for both. She wants to join the club and be friends with Yukino. Later, he eats his cookie alone and thinks it's a bad omen, but accepts it anyway. In a new essay, Hikigaya writes about false hierarchies in high school, comparing friend groups to wild animals, which is why he'd rather be a lonely bear. But Miss Hiratsuka is not satisfied with his essay again, although he reminds her that she lives alone and is single, earning a good blow from her. Then she asks him about Yukino, and he says that he doesn't like her, but the teacher thinks that she is a sweet and bright girl. But she is worried that both will not adapt to society, so that is why she brings them together in the club. Later, Hikigaya has to eat his lunch inside the classroom because it's raining and he can't go to eat at his favorite place outside and alone, so he watches his classmates, and she realizes that everyone praises and pleases a girl. She is Yumiko, and thinks she is the queen of the class. Then Yu seems to want to go eat somewhere else, but Yumiko doesn't let her and begins to question her friendship. Yu looks like she's going to cry, so Hikigaya tries to rescue her, but even he is afraid of Yumiko's snake look. Suddenly, Yukino enters the classroom and scolds Yu for making her wait to eat together, and teases Yumiko for behaving like a queen, wanting to order everyone what to do. Before the fight escalates, a boy intercedes and calms down Yumiko. Then Yukino tells Yu that she will wait for her to eat together as they had planned, and she leaves. All the other students also run away from the classroom, and Yui whispers thanks to Hikigaya for trying to save her before. Then Yu takes courage and tells Yumiko that she now likes spending time with Yukino and Hikigaya, but still wants to continue being their friend, although Yumiko doesn't seem to care. Later, the three go to the club room and see that there is a strange guy. He is Zamakuza. He is a gym partner of Hikigaya, and like him, he has no friends. Hikigaya explains to them that Zamakuza lives in a fantasy where he is a swordsman, and Hikigaya remembers that before he also lived in a fantasy world because he was an otaku who did cosplays and wrote spiritual world diaries, but now he only keeps a diary with the names of people he will never forgive. Yukino thinks that he wants them to cure his what Zamakuza wants is for them to read his novel manuscript. He wants to enter a novice writer's contest, but he has no friends to read his manuscript and give him opinions. The next day, Hikigaya and Yukino are sleepy because they spent the night reading Zamakuza's novel, so he asks them to be honest, and Yukino tells him that his novel is bad and says all the mistakes he had. Yu didn't read it, so she asks Hikigaya for his opinion. and he tells him that it's a rip-off, but what matters are the illustrations. Zamakuza throws a tantrum, though he is grateful for their sincerity and makes them promise to read his next novel, and they agree. The next day, Zamakuza is Hikigaya's gym partner again, and he fantasizes that in the future, he will be a great writer and date girls and throw big parties. But Hikigaya tells him to be realistic. They are watched by another boy in the distance. The next day in tennis class, the boys have to pair up to practice, but Hikigaya prefers to be alone and practices against a wall until a ball almost hits him, and he returns it to his classmates even though they don't even know his name. What annoys him? At lunchtime, Hikigaya is enjoying his solitude while eating, but Yu sees him and stops to talk to him. She tells him that she went to buy juice for Yukino because she lost a game and she loves it. He thinks that they are already friends and that they have inside jokes, and he hates the in-groups and in-jokes, but she gets upset and tells him that he has conversations with Yukino, and they always leave her out. He says it's because she's a force of nature. It's something he can't do anything about. She wants to tell him something about the first day of high school, but are interrupted by Tatsuka Seika. He is so pretty that he looks like a girl, he belongs to the tennis club, and he thinks that Hikigaya is very good. The next day in tennis classes, Tatsuka approaches Hikigaya and he asks him to join the tennis club because they are a mess. Later, Hikigaya tells Yukino about Tatsuka and his plan to join the tennis club. She tells him that the team would unite to treat him as the enemy, but that would not improve their performance. Suddenly, Yu enters the club room accompanied by Tatsuka. She says that as a member of the club, she wants to help him, but Yukino says that she is not a member because she never applied to enter the club, so Yu writes the application right there and is accepted into the club. Now it's time to help Tatsuka get better at tennis. For days, they train with Tatsuka to improve his physical fitness, but one day, the group of bullies from their classroom want to take away the tennis court even though Tatsuka has permission to use it. Hikigaya tells Hayama that he has everything, friends, good looks, soccer captain, and still wants to take away the tennis court, but Yumiko is not interested in what they are talking about and wants to use the court now. So Hayama proposes a match to determine who uses the tennis court during breaks. Also, the winner will help Tatsuka train. They play mixed doubles, but Yu is very bad at playing and sprains her ankle, so she asks Yukino to replace her. She agrees because Yue is the first friend she has and Yumiko has been bothering her. The match starts again and Yukino shows her ability to score several points, but she has little stamina, although she is confident that Hikigaya will finish the match with victory. And he doesn't disappoint her. He uses his knowledge of wind directions to get another point, and to end the match, he serves with great force, sending the ball flying very far, and Yumiko chases after it and falls. They won, but the bullies' friends praise the couple for their great performance, even though the others won. After that, Tatsuka thanks Hikigaya for his help and smiles at him. He thinks the rom-com gods set him up with a guy. But when they return to the club room, he accidentally walks in when the girls were changing clothes and they throw a racket in his face, so that this time he praises the rom-com gods. The next day, Hikigaya is teased by his younger sister, Komachi. She wants him to take her to school on his bike, but warns him to watch out for traffic. Then he remembers his first day of high school. He was so excited that he left his house an hour early, but he was hit by a car for trying to save a dog and broke his leg and was hospitalized. That was the moment that his life as a loner began. On the way to school, his sister tells him that the puppy's owner goes to the same high school as his, and that she said she would thank him in person. Later, Miss Hiratsuka gets mad at Hikigaya because in his workplace visit survey, he wrote that he wants to be a house husband and be alone, but she says that the visits to workplaces are made in groups of 3 and cannot be alone. Then he goes to the club and Yukino scolds him for being late since Yui had to go out looking for him. When Yu comes back, she asks for his phone number to avoid asking everywhere where he is. He hands his phone so Yu can save the number herself, and sure saves her number with many hearts and stars. After that, Hayama enters the classroom and asks them for help. He says that his 3 friends are being defamed by chain text messages among their classmates. It says that Tobe is a delinquent who beats up kids in arcades, Yamato is a 3-timer and a to the girls, and Oka uses unsportsmanlike tactics to injure other star players. Hayama wants the rumors to stop because he feels bad for his friends. Yukino says it's best to find out who is the culprit first. Hikigaya remembers that they have to visit workplaces in a group of 3, so maybe that's a reason for these rumors. They think that since they are a group of 4 boys, one of the 3 tries to get another out of the group with false rumors, so Hikigaya and Yui are in charge of looking for clues. Later, Yu tries to talk to the girls. Yumiko thinks that she likes someone, and Ibina misinterprets what Yu says and thinks that the 3 boys are dating each other. Hikigaya begins to watch them closely, but is interrupted by Tatsuka, who wants to be with him to go to the workplace, but Hikigaya doesn't understand him. Then, Hayama comes over to ask him if he has any clues, and at that moment, Hikigaya notices that the other 3 boys don't talk to each other when Hayama isn't around. Later in the club room, Hikigaya tells them that it is not necessary to know who is the culprit to solve the problem. What Hayama has to do is not go to the workplace with them. That will give those three a chance to become friends and they won't slander each other anymore. And that worked. Those three will be in a group and Hayama will be with Hikigaya in another group. But Tatsuka gets mad at him because he wanted to be with him, so Hikigaya agrees to let him join them. So everyone else chooses to go where Hayama wants to go. At the end of the day, a mysterious white-haired girl appears, but she doesn't enter the classroom. The next day, Hikigaya is late for class and makes silly excuses to Miss Hiratsuka, but she doesn't believe him and punches him. Then Kawasaki Saki, who was also late, go in. Later, Hikigaya goes to the cafeteria and meets Yukino, Yui, and Tatsuka in a study session. Yu notices that he has some brochures and Hikigaya says that they are brochures for summer school. He wants to get a scholarship to go to college. Suddenly, he meets his sister and a friend of hers, then the six of them sit at the same table and introduce themselves. To Komachi, Yu seems familiar but doesn't say anything, and it turns out that Komachi's friend is the brother of Saki. And according to him, she's become a delinquent. She comes home at 5 a.m. every night. Then Yukino says that this is work for the club. The next day, Yukino tells Yu and Hikigaya that they can't force Saki to change, so they'll try animal therapy first and asks him to bring his cat tomorrow. Hikigaya brings his cat to school for Saki to relieve her stress by playing with the cat, but her brother tells them that she is allergic to cats, so they cancel that plan. The second plan is for Miss Hiratsuka to talk to her, but Saki tells her that she should worry about getting married first. It occurs to Yu that maybe she can trust a boy, and they ask Hayama to offer her a shoulder to cry on if she needs it, but Saki rejects him and leaves. Hikigaya finds this very funny. After that, they find out that Seki received a call from a cafe called Angel, and there are only 2 cafes with that name in the city. They go to the first one accompanied by Zayamakuza, who is an expert in maid cafes. Yu and Yukino dress up as maids to find out about Saki, but it turns out that she doesn't work there. At night, Hikigaya, Yu, and Yukino go to the other cafe that is on the top floor of a luxurious hotel, and they are dressed in elegant clothes. Yukino was the one who lent Yui a dress since she lives alone and has many to go to different events. When they go up to the top floor, they see Saki working as a barista and go to talk to her. Yukino tells her that she's a minor and cannot work there all night, but Saki is rude to her for being the daughter of an assemblyman and says that she needs money that her parents can't get, not like Yukino, who was born with a silver spoon. Yu gets angry on her friend's behalf, but Hikigaya calms them down and tells Saki to meet him when she gets off work at 5 a.m. After work, Saki goes to a coffee shop where she meets her brother, Komachi, and the club members. Hikigaya tells them that he has figured out why Saki needs so much money. Seki also wants to go to college, but her parents can afford it, even though they both work. Seki says that she doesn't want to worry them, but Komachi tells her that she's still worried her younger brother, and Hikigaya tells Saki about the scholarship program. On the way home, Komachi tells her brother that Yu owns the puppy he saved, and Hikigaya is speechless. The next day, the students are going to visit the workplace, and Hikigaya is away from everyone, so Yu is going to invite him to eat with the others, but he declines and tells her that he already knows that she owns the dog that he saved, and bitterly tells her that she can stop pretending to be nice to him. He thinks she feels guilty because now he is a loner who doesn't fit in with his classmates. She says that she's not like that, and she looks at him tearfully before leaving with the others. It's been a week, and Yu doesn't talk to Hikigaya. He thinks they've reset their relationship. He pretends he doesn't know her, and she doesn't pretend to be his friend out of guilt. Yu has stopped attending the service club too. Yukima thinks it's because of a fight with Hikigaya, but he tells her that only friends have fights and they're not. Later, Miss Hiratsuka tells them that they will have a battle royale and they should find a new member to help them. So Yukino thinks about bringing Yu back, but Hikigaya says that those who leave don't come back. Even so, Yu's birthday is coming up and she wants to buy her a present, so she asks Hikigaya to go out with her on the weekend. On Saturday, Hikigaya takes his sister to help them find a nice gift at the mall. But Komachi leaves them as soon as they enter the mall. Yukino tells Hikigaya that she's not good at choosing gifts and needs his opinion. But he can't enter the girl's store because everyone suspects a guy who walks alone through those stores. Then Yukino tells him that she will allow him to pretend to be her boyfriend and he will have to be very close to her, but only for this one and only time. Meanwhile, Yu is also at the mall with her dog, but gets away from her and she runs to look for it. Later, Yukino continues looking for a gift for Yui and accepts Hikigaya's opinions, so she buys her a girly pink apron. But they are interrupted by Yukino's older sister, Haruno. She thinks they are dating and threatens to hurt Hikigaya if he harms her sister. But Yukino explains that they are not dating. Then she leaves and Hikigaya says that she seems to be a perfect girl, but surely it's a facade and she's fake. Yukino agrees. Suddenly, Yu's dog approaches them and Yukino gets scared, but the dog jumps towards Hikigaya. Then Yu appears and thinks that they are dating, but Yukino asks her to go to the club room on Monday. She wants to tell her something. Yu doesn't want to go, but Yukino insists. On Monday, Yu walks into the club room and thinks that Yukino wants to celebrate that she is dating Hikigaya, while Yukino talks about celebrating Yu's birthday, and Hikigaya realizes that the two talk about different things, so he clarifies that they are not dating. Then Yukino tells her that she wants to celebrate her birthday. She baked a cake and brought her a gift, and not only her, Hikigaya also bought her a gift that day. He tells Yu that now they are even. The gift is a payment for the good attitudes that she had for feeling guilty. But Yu says that it is not like that, but she cannot explain herself. Yukino listens to both of them and says that Hikigaya is right. They both started badly, and they must end now to start again. Since no one is to blame for what happened, the culprit is the person who ran over Hikigaya and goes to tell Miss Hiratsuka that they got a new member for the club again. When they are alone, Yu opens the gift and is very happy when she sees that it is a very pretty necklace and puts it on. But Hikigaya tells her that it is a dog collar, and she gets upset and leaves laughing. Summer break begins and Miss Hiratsuka has activities planned for the club, but Hikigaya ignores her texts and calls. He continues to play video games, but his sister wants them to go out and asks him to put on other clothes. And when they go where his sister wanted to go, he realizes that it was all a trap by Miss Hiratsuka. Then Yue, Yukino, and Tatsuka also arrive, and they all go to Shibamura. At Shibamura, Hayama, Yumiko, Evina, and To also arrive. Miss Hiratsuka says that everyone will be doing community service for a few days, and as part of Service Club's summer camp, they will be working as counselors for a kids' summer camp. Yukino asks Miss Hiratsuka why she invited the others, and she says that those in the club must learn to live with other people. They don't need to be friends, but they do need to live together without fighting or ignoring each other. In other words, learn to adapt to society. The first task is to help the children with the race through the forest. Hayama is very popular with the little girls who only ask for his help, but he doesn't realize that those girls leave aside another one. Back at camp, their second task is to watch and help the kids prepare lunch, and Hikigaya feels uncomfortable when Toad talks to him out of the blue. After that, Hayama asks the lonely girl if she doesn't like the curry that they are preparing, but she evades the question and leaves. Then Hikigaya and Yukino talk to her. She is Rumi, and she has no friends, but she says she can have them in middle school. But Yukino tells her that won't happen because those girls who shunned her will also be in middle school. Rumi hopes that everything will return to normal soon. They tell Miss Hiratsuka about the situation, and Hayama says that he wants to do something to help her, but Yukino ironically says that he couldn't do it in the past and he can't do it now. Yukino then tells Miss Hiratsuka that Rumi is a case for the service club, and she agrees. Everyone has an opinion on how to help Rumi. Yumiko thinks that she is being difficult and should only talk to the others, while Evina says that in the future, she will find hobbies and friends that are like her. But Yukino thinks that it is impossible for Rumi to make friends, so Yumiko gets angry and says that Rumi is like Yukino. She thinks she is better than the others, and that is why she is rejected. Yukino replies to Yumiko that maybe she is the one who feels inferior. Hayama calms them down and Yumiko leaves. At night, Hikigaya can't sleep and goes outside and finds Yukino humming a song and looking at the stars. She tells him that she made Yumiko cry and she left the cabin while Yu comforts her. He asks her if something is wrong between her and Hayama. She says that they went to elementary school together and their parents are friends. Hikigaya thinks that having to deal with family friends, but she says that the one in charge of maintaining the good reputation of the family is her older sister. She's just a replacement and leaves, saying that she wants to help Rumi. Meanwhile, Rumi is also alone watching the stars. The next day, Tatsuka wakes up Hikigaya and talks to him incessantly until he asks for his cell phone number. Hikigaya can't believe that he will have a friend's number since he only uses his cell phone as an alarm clock. Later, Miss Hiratsuka tells them that they are going to have a test of courage and then a bonfire. They have to prepare everything for the bonfire, and at night, they will dress up to scare the children. After that, everyone goes to play in the river except Hikigaya, who stays alone in a tree watching them. Suddenly, Rumi approaches and sits next to him. The kids have the day off, but she was left out again. He tells her that she shouldn't worry because the chances of being friends with her classmates in high school are 1%. But Ruby says that her mom wouldn't like that because she gave her a camera to take pictures with her friends, but now she's being shunned just like she did with other girls. So she already gave up on making friends. Hikigaya empathizes with her and understands her, so he wishes her luck in the courage test. He has a plan. Later, they all put on costumes to scare the children, but none of them are scary. They look like cheap cosplays. Then Hikigaya tells them his idea: if the problem is human relationships, they should destroy those human relationships. So the problem will go away. If everyone is a loner, there won't be a war or suffering. Later that night, the children go in groups to the forest and some are not scared of the costumes. Then it is time for the group of mean girls and Rumi. They first run into Tove and Yumiko and make fun of them because they don't wear a costume. Tove and Yumiko pretend to be angry and behave rudely, making them apologize and tell them that they must abandon 3 of the group in order to move forward. The girls first exclude Rumi, and then they start fighting and blaming each other, and they choose one more. Then Hayama appears and gives them seconds to decide the last one they should leave. Hikigaya's plan goes perfectly, but Ruby uses her camera with a flash to blind them and runs off, saving the other girls. This is how the bad girls broke their friendship. Later at the bonfire, Miss Hiratsuka tells Hikigaya that it was a very low plan, but it worked, because maybe in the past he was also at the bottom of the bottom, that he was able to empathize with Rumi. Then Rumi walks past him without saying anything. Yukino says that no one will thank him, even though thanks to him she won't be bothered anymore, and they are interrupted by the others bringing hand fireworks. Then Hayama sits next to him and tells him that when he was a child he witnessed a similar situation, but he didn't help, he just watched. The next day, everyone returns to the city and Yukino's sister comes to pick her up in a limo, saying that her mother is waiting for them. As they leave, Yu says that she recognizes that limo, but Hikigaya lies, saying that because of the pain he doesn't remember what kind of limo hit him. Summer ends in 5 days. Komachi takes care of Yu's dogs, so Yu invites them to watch the fireworks at the end of the week, but Komachi makes an excuse not to go, so his brother and Yu go together. On the day of the fireworks, Hikigaya is dressed in casual clothes, but Yui is wearing a yukata. They go by train to the festival. They visit the stalls to buy the things that Komachi asked Yu for, though Hikigaya realizes that she and her sister planned this to look like a date. Later, Yu meets some acquaintances and Hikigaya leaves her alone so they can talk quietly. After that, they continue buying snacks for Komachi. When the fireworks start, Hikigaya regrets not having brought a blanket, and Yu realizes that he is very nice. He tells her that with all the bad experiences he had in life, he could seek revenge, but he is not like that. Suddenly, they meet Haruno, Yukino's older sister, and she invites them to sit in a privileged place. She came representing her father. She tells them that her mother forced her to come since she is scary, and she asks if they are on a date, but Yu denies it. Haruno doesn't believe her and worries about her sister's feelings. Then Haruno asks Yu if she gets along with Yukino, and Yu replies that yes, she loves her very much even though she is weird sometimes. Haruno is happy and hopes that Yu will remain friends with Yukino for a long time and not like the ex-friends who first loved her sister and then invite her. Then, Haruno asks Hikigaya if he gets along with her sister. He only answers that his mom taught him not to be picky. That makes Haruno laugh, and they leave when the fireworks end. She offers to take them home in the limo, but Hikigaya feels uncomfortable seeing it. But Haruno tells him that there are no marks from the accident and says that it wasn't Yukino's fault. She doesn't drive the limo, she was sitting in the back. Hikigaya says that he doesn't live in the past, but he still prefers not to get in the limo. On the way home, Yu asks Hikigaya if Yukino talked to him about the accident, but he says no, and maybe it's better that way. The less you know, the less you have to deal with. Yu doesn't agree with that. She wants to know more things so they can be better friends. He makes him promise that he will save Yukino when she needs him. He doesn't think she needs him, but Yu insists that he will save her, just like he saved her. He tells her that he didn't save her, but Yu doesn't give up and tells him that if the accident hadn't happened, everything they've experienced up to now would still have happened. Then she blushes and is about to tell him something, but is interrupted by her cell phone. Her mom calls her to come home. Summer break is over and it's time to go back to school. Hikigaya meets Yukino for the first time since the camp. She wants to tell him something, but he evades her and goes to his classroom. He reflects that he has never hated himself like this. He had not realized that he held Yukino in high esteem. He considered her perfect and is disappointed that she lied to him. The three meet again in the club room, but things are awkward between Hikigaya and Yukino. They ignore each other. Later, Miss Hiratsuka assigns Hikigaya as part of the Culture Festival Committee. He, along with Sagami, the other class representative, must attend committee meetings. Then the committee president asks Yukino to follow in her older sister's footsteps and be the chairwoman of the committee, but she refuses, so Sagami volunteers and the president accepts. After that, at the club room, the atmosphere is still awkward between Yukino and Hikigaya, so she proposes to cancel the club activities until the culture festival ends. He agrees and is about to leave when Sagami and her friends enter the room. She wants the service club to help her with the committee chairwoman duties, and Yukino agrees. When they are alone, Yu asks her confused why she agreed if she was about to cancel the club activities minutes before, but Yukino says that only she goes to help Sagami. So Yu gets angry and leaves. Hikigaya also leaves in silence. Yui is still angry and tells Hikigaya that something is worrying Yukino. She's not like that. She also mistrusts Sagami's intentions, asking her for help with her position as chairwoman of the committee, so she asks Hikigaya to save Yukino. If she gets in trouble, he says if he can do it, he will. At the committee meeting, Sagami is the chairwoman, but Yukino earns the admiration of others by leading them with discipline and firmness. The next day, Ibina assigns the roles for her gay play. She wants the main couple to be Hayama and Hikigaya, but he refuses because he is already part of the committee, so Ibina assigns the role to Tatsuka. Later, At the committee meeting, everyone is amazed because Haruno wants to participate in the school festival, and she asks her sister for permission, but Yukino tells her that she is not the chairwoman. It turns out that Sagami was late because she stayed talking with her friends. Sagami happily agrees to Haruno's request, knowing that Yukino resents it. Then Sagami tells the committee members that they should relax and enjoy the school festival, but Yukino interrupts her, saying that time is tight, but Haruno agrees with Sagami and Yukino remains silent. The days go by and the committee becomes so relaxed that the work accumulates in large quantities. Now only some members of the committee do the hard work while the others have fun. Even Hikigaya does extra work, so Hayama offers to lend a hand to make their work easier. Suddenly, Sagami walks in and apologizes for being late even though she's not really sorry. Yukino asks her to put her stamp of approval on various projects, which she does, and tells her that next time she should put the stamp herself as if she were a proxy. Everyone is surprised by the lazy attitude of their chairwoman. The next day, the work piles up even more because Yukino has a cold and can't attend the committee meeting. Ebine's play rehearsals continue, though she complains that Hayama and Seiki should act more romantically and makes them practice more. Meanwhile, Sagami just monitors what others are doing without doing anything. Suddenly, Yu receives a call from Hikigaya and he tells her that Yukino has a cold. Later, they go to Yukino's house. She looks pale and tired, but continues to work on festival projects even though she should be resting. Yu scolds her for not sharing the workload with others and scolds Hikigaya for not saving Yukino as he had promised. So he tells Yukino that he doesn't know how to solve the problem, but they must find a solution so that she doesn't do all the work alone. Yu tells Yukino that she can rely on her and Hikigaya, but she evades them and gives them tea. As they were leaving, Yukino tells Yu that it's hard to rely on her now, but one day she will do it and thanks her. Hikigaya is angered by the situation and devises a plan for the next committee meeting. The next day, Sagami and her friends present slogans for the festival, but Hikigaya complains about all the slogans, since they are about friendship and helping each other, and explains that no one is helping him, everyone just has fun and leaves the hard work to others. Yukino can't take it anymore and starts laughing, so she decides to end the committee meeting, and some members complain because Hikigaya dared to complain about all the work they give him. After that, Yukino and Hikigaya talk to each other again without any discomfort, and to his surprise, she says goodbye to him warmly. The next day, Yukino presents the new slogan and puts everyone to work, while Sagami only approves things without being consulted. Then Haruno congratulates Hikigaya for being the villain of the committee. Thanks to him, everyone got to work more, and he realizes that Haruno was the villain for Yukino to work more since Sagami is a lazy girl. The day of the cultural festival begins with a failed speech from Sagami. She is so nervous that she makes a mess of herself on stage, but even so, the play of The Little Prince rewritten by Ebina is a success. Yukino and Hikigaya work very hard in their positions so that everything goes perfectly. Then Yu brings Hikigaya a sweet dessert and he wants to pay her, but she says to return her with another dessert. He thinks that maybe it is a date, but since he is very inexperienced in human relations, he doesn't know what to say and says that he will think about it. Meanwhile, Sagami hides in the bathroom very sad. The festival continues and Hikigaya now works as an official photographer taking photos. He is surprised by his younger sister who went to see the festival. After that, Yukino and Hikigaya go to see Haruno's orchestra. She's so good that everyone wants to see her. Yukino tells him that she always wanted to be like her sister, but he says that she's fine the way she is. Suddenly, a committee member alerts Yukino that there is a problem. She and Hikigaya go to talk to Miss Hiratsuka and she informs them that Sagami is missing, and they need her because she is the only one who knows who is the winner of the festival's regional award. Hikigaya says that they should continue without her, but Hayama appears and says that he will buy more time playing with his band, even though Yumiko is tired of singing, but he warns them that he will only get 10 minutes. Hikigaya says that 10 minutes is not enough, so Yukino comes up with a plan for buy another 10 minutes and goes in search of her sister. She asks Haruno to do a performance with her band. Haruno first teases that it's the first time she's asked for a favor, but Yukino clarifies that it's not a favor, it's an order as a committee member, and she will owe her a favor in the future. So Haruno accepts since part of her old band is present. She refers to Miss Hiratsuka and the student council president. Yukino will also participate and she asks Yu if she can rely on her as a singer. Yu is happy to help her, although she is nervous to go on stage. Then, Yukino tells Hikigaya that she is relying on him to find Sagami, and he leaves to find her. Hikigaya calls Zamakuza to ask him where he goes when he wants to be alone, and gives him a list of possible places. Finally, Hikigaya finds her on the terrace. She was hoping someone would find her and say sweet words to convince her, but he is not a hypocrite, so he can't say anything. Fortunately, Hayama and Sagami's friends arrive at the terrace as well and begin to comfort her and give her words of encouragement, so she can go to the closing ceremony, but she continues to play hard to get and there is no time left. Hikigaya doesn't want all of Yukino's work to be in vain, so he decides to be the villain once more to force her to act. He tells Sagami everything he thinks of her in a rude way, and he accuses her of wanting to be like Yukino without doing anything to take credit from her, and that no one cares about her. Then Hayama gets angry and forces him to shut up. But his plan worked. Sagami decides to go to the closing ceremony. Hayama realizes that Hikigaya did it on purpose and gets angry because he is not able to get things any other way. Meanwhile, Yukino's band puts on an impressive show and the audience goes wild. Hikigaya watches them smiling from afar. At the closing ceremony, Sagami makes a mess of herself again and ends up crying when it's all over. Hikigaya's classmates are mad at him because they accuse him of lowering Sagami's self-esteem, even though thanks to him and to Yukino, the festival could be saved. After that, Haruno congratulates him for saving the festival and Miss Hiratsuka says that he did a good job. But that's no excuse for hurting himself to save others. He's used to pain, but every time he gets hurt, someone's heart breaks. Later, Hikigaya goes to the club room. He has to write festival records and want a quiet place. But there he finds Yukino. She was filling out her career consultation survey. They talk like before without awkwardness, and he realizes that they are different but similar at the same time. So he tries to ask her if she wants to be his friend, but she interrupts him and tells him smiling that they can't be friends. Suddenly, Yu arrives and invites them to an after party, but neither of them wants to go. She insists and says that she will wait for them to take them to the party. Then Hikigaya inwardly reflects that one day these days of youth will end and one will regret that they are over. The service club has a new request for help. The student council president, Megu, wants them to help her make the athletics festival a success. Although the three of them do not have good memories of their previous athletics festivals, Megu wants them to join the athletics festival committee, and they meet Miss Hiratsuka. She was the one who recommended the club to Megu. The brainstorm for the festival begins, but they are all rejected by Miss Hiratsuka because lately the students complain about everything, so Hikigaya says that they should ask the students that they are different from the rest. They call Labina and Zamakuza to come up with ideas to make an athletic festival different from other years. The students are divided into two teams, red team and white team. The service club has to help Megu's red team win, but they have few points, so they have to win the remaining two competitions. The main competition is from the girls. They are dressed in armor and must fight each other with their army. Fortunately, the red team manages to win thanks to Yukino, Yu, and Megu. They trust Hikigaya to win the last competition. The captain of the white team is Hayama, and the captain of the red team is Tatsuka, who with his beauty makes everyone fall in love. Hikigaya tells Tatsuka and Zamakuza that he has a plan to win. First, Tatsuka gives a speech to encourage the entire red team, but it's not enough, so Zamakuza gives a more aggressive speech against Hayama, awakening the spirit of all the guys who aren't popular. The competition begins, and it is fierce. Tatsuka and Zamakuza follow Hikigaya's plan and do shows so that he goes unnoticed. He uncovered his red headband and put on a white one, but he is stopped by Hayama, who knew that Hikigaya would have a plan. Hikigaya gives up and is caught by the entire white team, but it was all a trap. He was the real decoy. So he gives the signal to Zamakuza to run and knock down the white team's pole, and Zamakuza does it by running like never before. The red team celebrates euphorically. They have won. Or so they thought. The red team is disqualified because Hikigaya put on a white bandage to cover his red headband, and that was against the rules. The next day, the three talk about the athletics festival. It is the first time they enjoy it, and they are motivated to win next year. One morning, Hikigaya contemplates the superfluous nature of marriage and its misleading image of happiness. While his sister makes him breakfast, he thinks that marriage is not necessary, and Komachi thinks that he will never get married. Later in the club room, Miss Hiratsuka tells them that they have a new job. They must write articles and fill pages for the municipal magazine about attracting young people to marriage. She asks them for help because she is neither young nor married, which makes her sad. Yukino says that they are not experts on the subject either, but they will help her. Hikigaya thinks that they should write pure nonsense, and that's it. But the girls disagree. On top of that, they only have a week to do the job. Then, Hikigaya and Yukino start arguing about what they should write or just fill out the ad pages. And then they ask Yu to brainstorm as well, but she only thinks of wedding dresses. So they decide to survey their classroom and with those answers write articles, but the answers are disappointing since no teenager thinks about marriage yet. Yukino says that they should ask a girl who already takes care of a useless deadweight. To Yukino, that's a husband. So she asks for help from Komachi, who already takes care of Hikigaya for Yukino. He is a useless deadweight. Komachi reads the surveys and says that they can't use them, but notices that girls don't know what a wife does, so they must learn first. The first challenge is to recreate mom's home cooking for a husband. The judges will be Hikigaya, Tatsuka, and Zamakuza. Yu presents her dish, and it is a gastronomic disaster. Then Yukino presents a plate of pala, and it is very good. But the one who gives the surprise is Miss Hiratsuka. Her dish is exquisite. The following is a bridal quiz. The girls have to answer as if they were wives. Hikigaya also wants to participate because he wants to be a stay-at-home husband. Komachi asks them several questions, and the answers are varied, although Hikigaya and Yukino do not miss the opportunity to argue their answers. Lastly, Komachi organizes a bride runaway show. The three girls wear wedding dresses. but the most beautiful is Miss Hiratsuka. When Komachi has to announce the winner, Miss Hiratsuka intimidates her with her eyes and Komachi is forced to say that she is the winner. To end the day, everyone takes a photo wearing their wedding dresses. Now all that remains is to write the articles for the magazine. Hikigaya spends the whole night writing and ends with a very curious conclusion: the girls should look for boys who want to be stay-at-home husbands. Season 2. After the cultural and athletic festivals ended with no major problems, the temperature dropped and a new season begins in high school. Hikigaya is in his classroom as lonely as ever until Tatsuka indirectly tells him that he wants to be in his group on the field trip. He notices it and proposes to make a group with Tatsuka. He happily accepts. Later, in the club room, the trio talk about the school trip to Kyoto, and although it may not seem like it, the most excited is Yukino, which amuses Yu and Hikigaya. Then, Hayama and Tobe walk in. Tobe needs help with something, but he's not sure about telling Hikigaya about his problems, so Yu and Yukino get mad. She kicks them out for being rude. But Tobe backs down and tells them that he wants to go out with Abina, so Yukino gives Hikigaya the power of decision. He will decide if they help Tobe, and he accepts. Although Hikigaya lists the risks of confessing his feelings to someone and then being rejected. Then, Yukino proposes to make a list of Tobe's good points, but it doesn't work, so they ask Yu what Abina thinks of Tobe, and she avoids meeting his eyes and says that she thinks he's a nice guy. Hikigaya deduces that Abina doesn't care about Tobe at all. Later, the trio thinks that they should link Abina and Tobe on the school trip to Kyoto. Suddenly, they have a surprise visitor. Abina wants to talk to them about Tobe, but she doesn't want to talk about what they think. Abina came to talk to Hikigaya because she thinks that he is in a love triangle with Tobe and Hayama, and that excites her too much. When she leaves, all three are speechless about what just happened. On the day of the field trip, Yu tries to get Abina and Tobe to sit together on the train, but she doesn't succeed. When they arrive in Kyoto, the students enjoy taking photos and visiting tourist places. Yu keeps trying to get Abina and Tobe to spend time together, so she sets them up whenever she can, though Tobe does his best to be with Abina as well. At the shrines, Yu tries to be close to Hikigaya, but he takes care of himself not to be in situations that could be misconstrued romantically, so he avoids her. Later, at the hotel, Hikigaya meets Yukino in the hall because they both ran away from their roommates. Then they discover Miss Hiratsuka trying to go out, so she buys their silence with ramen. After eating, she leaves them near the hotel, and she goes to buy some alcohol. Yukino is easily disoriented at night, so Hikigaya tells her to walk by his side. But she says that they can't see them coming to the hotel together at night, so she walks following him from afar. When they arrive, he lets her into the hotel first and she thanks him. The next day, Hikigaya wakes up very close to Tatsuka and gets up blushing, but no one noticed because everyone is still asleep. The morning starts with the students visiting photo spots and different haunted houses that easily scare Yu and Saki. Later, Yu and Hikigaya meet up with Yukino, who asks how them about Tobe and Abina. She can't help them much because she's in a different class, but still she gives them a list of places in Kyoto that the girls like. Later that night, Hikigaya meets up with Yumiko, and she complains about them messing with Abina. But he tells her that it's someone's request, and mysteriously says that she shouldn't worry, Hayama will do something about it. That reassures Yumiko. The next day, Abina asks Hikigaya how his love triangle with Tobe and Hayama is going. He tells her that the two of them play cards at night, but Abina is not satisfied with imagining it. She wants to see the three together. Later, Yui, Yukino, and Hikigaya are together and Yu eats regional snacks, but Yukino says that she will ruin her appetite, so Yu shares her snacks with them and they eat it too, making Yu happy. Later, they find the perfect place for Tobe to confess his feelings to Abina. After thawing their room, everyone cheers for Tobe because they know what he will do later, though Hayama is worried. So Hikigaya talks to him, and Hayama confesses that he feels comfortable with his group of friends and doesn't want things to change. He asked Tobe many times to give up on Abina, since Abina would not open her heart to him. Hikigaya thinks that he is selfish because he doesn't think about Tobe and only his comfort and leaves him alone. At night, Tobe is very nervous, so Hikigaya asks him what he will do if Abina rejects him. Tobe says for sure that he won't give up, then Hikigaya encourages him and leaves. He approaches Yu and Yukino. They are touched because he cares about Hayama, and he tells them that he is sure that Abina will reject Tobe, but there is only one way and that the others will not see Tobe being rejected, and there is only a way for the two of them to remain friends without separating the group. Abina arrives and is resigned to rejecting Tobe, but as Tobe is about to start talking, Hikigaya interrupts him and tells Abina that he has always liked her. All the students who were watching them are left speechless by what just happened. Then Abina tells him that no matter who confesses his feelings to her, she doesn't want to date anyone right now, and she leaves. Tobe is sad about what happened. His friends cheer him up and he tells Hikigaya that he will win Abina's heart. Hayama apologizes to Hikigaya again. Hikigaya had to be the villain to save others. He tells him that he doesn't want his apology, so Hayama leaves. Hikigaya goes to where Yukino and Yui are, and Yukino tells him that the way he handles things annoys her and leaves. Yu stays with him and tells him that for a moment she thought he was serious and asks him not to do it again. Then she starts crying and tells him that next time he thinks about how the others feel, and she leaves, leaving him alone. The next day, Ebina meets Hikigaya and he tells her that he understood what she wanted at the last moment. It turns out that she invented the love triangle thing because she wanted Hikigaya to spend time with Hayama and Tobe that would keep Tobe away from her and prevent him from confessing his feelings to her. She also told Hayama. So Hayama also tried to stop Tobe. In the end, there was only one last solution left, and it was Hikigaya, so she thanks him and tells him that she's a mess, she can't date anyone now. Then she says that maybe she could date him, and he warns her that she shouldn't say that to the boys or they might fall in love with her. Ebina says that his honesty is exactly what she likes about him, and he agrees with her. Ebina opens up to him and says that she hates herself for not wanting things to change. She created a front of lies to feel comfortable, and she wants to stay that way. Days later, while Hikigaya and Komachi have breakfast, she notices that her brother is more hopeless than before and asks him if something happened on the field trip with Yu and Yukino. He evades her questions in a rude way, so she gets angry and leaves the house. At school, he spends his day alone, and when he goes to the club room, the tension is felt in the air. Yu tries to break the ice, saying that Hayama's group of friends is still united. They act normal and unchanged. Then Hikigaya says that normal and unchanged is good, but Yukino disagrees. They are interrupted by Miss Hiratsuka, who brings them a new job, Megu, and a girl named Iroha. She tells them that she is running for student council president, but she doesn't want to win. She can volunteer, someone else put her in the running. Hikigaya says that the solution is for her to lose in the voting, but there is a problem. Iroha is the only candidate, and the students will vote for her with a vote of confidence. So Hikigaya thinks of a new plan. He says that someone has to give her campaign speech, and it has to be a very bad speech, so no one will vote for her, and they will blame her campaign manager, and Iroha won't be to blame for losing. Yu and Yukino realize that Hikigaya plans to be the villain again to save someone, so Yukino gets angry and starts listing all the flaws in his plan. Miss Hiratsuka says that the problem will take longer to be solved, so Megu and Iroha leave. Then, Yukino asks Miss Hiratsuka how the standouts of the competition are going. She had completely forgotten about it, so she tells them that there are no winners yet. Since Hikigaya is good at getting results, Yukino is good at getting methods and follow-ups, and they always need Yu's help. Then Yukino says that Iroha's problem will be solved individually, and Hikigaya agrees not to work as a team anymore. Later, Hikigaya goes to a coffee shop, and unfortunately for him, he runs into Haruno. He tries to avoid her, but she sits next to him and asks about her sister. She thought that Megu was going to ask Yukino to be the new student council president and is disappointed when Hikigaya tells her that it is not. Suddenly, they are interrupted by a girl named Kaori. She was a classmate of Hikigaya's in middle school, and to Haruno's surprise, Kaori tells him that Hikigaya asked her out once. Kaori asks Hikigaya if he can introduce her friend to Hayama. He says that they are not friends, but Haruno butts in and calls Hayama on her cell phone to spend time with them. After a very strange date between everyone, Haruno leaves and Hikigaya complains that she tortures him. But Hayama tells him that Haruno likes him. The next day, Yu tells Hikigaya that she and Yukino are going to talk to Iroha again. So Hikigaya agrees to just listen. Later in the club room, Yukino and Yui say that they must find an ideal candidate for Iroha loses the elections. Yukino already wrote the speech for that candidate. Hikigaya says that they aren't thinking about the future of the council by writing the speech for a puppet candidate, so Yukino gets angry and says that his method won't work either. She wants to prevent him from being the villain once more, and the situation heats up, scaring Iroha, so Hikigaya leaves the club room. The next day at school, Hayama asks Hikigaya to come with him on Saturday to hang out with Kaori's friend, but Hikigaya refuses and leaves. That night, Hikigaya receives a call from Haruno. She says that he should agree to go on that date with her old love, or she will drag him to the date herself. So Hayama moves the date to a weekday, and the four of them go to the cinema to see a romantic movie. Hikigaya gets really bored, so he feels like he ends something that never started with Kaori. After the movie, they go to the mall, but they gradually meet their classmates. Yumiko can't believe that Hayama is with other girls, while Iroha scolds Hikigaya with a smile. She thinks that he is hanging out with girls instead of looking for a solution to her problem. After that, Hikigaya and Hayama talk about the type of girls they like, but Hikigaya evades the question and Hayama remembers that he told Tove that he likes a girl that starts with Y. Later, the girls want to eat something and Hikigaya suggests a trendy cafeteria, but the girls keep making fun of him, until Hayama tells them that he doesn't like girls like them. Suddenly, Hikigaya realizes that Haruno is spying on them, and out of nowhere Yukino and Yu arrive at the cafeteria. Then Hayama tells the girls that Hikigaya is not the loser they think. He is friends with girls cooler than them. Kaori and her friend get offended and leave. Yu and Yukino feel uncomfortable about what just happened, and they explain to Hikigaya that they came because they thought they were going to talk about the student council. Hayama could be the candidate they need. At that moment, Haruno approaches them and says that she thought Yukino would be the student council president, then sarcastically tells Yukino that she looks like her mother, always delegating things to others because someone else will do it for her. Yukino gets angry and ironically agrees with her and leaves with Yui. Then Hikigaya tells Haruno that she is planning something. Her words to Yukino were very well thought out. Haruno says that he always understands everything, every word and every action of others, and leaves. Hayama and Hikigaya are left alone, and Hayama tells him that he tries to repair what he destroyed. He trusted Hikigaya to solve his problems without realizing what would happen to Yui and Yukino. Hayama wants Hikigaya to stop sacrificing himself for others. He thinks that Hikigaya helps others because he wants to be helped. Hikigaya tells him that he doesn't want pity from him and leaves. The next day, Ms. Hiratsuka tells Hikigaya that Yukino is going to run for president of the student council. This takes him by surprise, and she asks him what he's going to do. He goes to the club room and asks Yukino if she's going to announce her candidacy. Yu is also surprised by the news, and Yukino says that she wouldn't mind doing it, and it's the best solution. Hikigaya smiles and says that they can still use his plan, and she gets angry and says that it's very arrogant of him to think that all the students would hate him enough not to vote for Iroha. Yu says that she now understands what Yukino wants to do. Later, Yu asks Hikigaya to walk home together. As they walk, Yu tells him that she will also run for student council president. Hikigaya is surprised and she tells him that it is the only option she has left. She doesn't want Yukino to win or the club will end. Yu feels that she always leaves the hard work to Hikigaya, but this time she will work hard and beat Yukino. Because she likes it, she blushes and her eyes water and repeats that she likes the club and leaves. That night, Komachi ignores her brother, but he makes her coffee and apologizes. She does the same, and he tells her everything what's happening. Komachi understands the situation and tells him that she can understand him because she lived her whole life with him, but even she gets sad for him, so it's not surprising that Yu and Yukino are mad at him. He tells her that he is grateful to have a sister like her, and she is touched. Then Komachi says that she also likes the service club, and it would be a shame if it ended. That leaves Hikigaya thinking he wants to protect the club, so he needs to stop Yu and Yukino to become president of the student council. He must think of a solution, but he can't think of anything. While Yu thinks about her campaign promises, Hikigaya goes to the library and meets Zamazuka. He says that he sees Hikigaya sad and offers to listen his problems, since Hikigaya has always been there for him. So they go to a cafeteria, and suddenly, Komachi arrives and brings Tatsuka and Saki with her. The operation to prevent Yui and Yukino from being elected student council president begins. Komachi makes Hikigaya choose between Yui and Yukino or Iroha. She asks him who is more important to him, and Hikigaya chooses Yui and Yukino. So Komachi says that he should give up on Iroha. Hikigaya thinks for a while and says that he's going to negotiate with Iroha and realizes that he took the wrong path from the beginning, so he asks Saki to write a list of the most suitable students to be student president. Saki chooses Yukino, Yui, Hayama, Abina, Yumiko, Sagami, To, so Hikigaya puts his plan into motion. Komachi is worried that he will screw things up halfway, but Hikigaya says that everything will be fine. First, Hikigaya creates a fan club on Twitter for potential candidates to get followers. All accounts are managed by him. The second step is to talk to Iroha. He tells her that she won't be able to beat Yu and Yukino in the elections. She says that it would be scary if she beats them. But Hikigaya repeats that she can't beat them and the people who supported her in the first place no longer do, so he asks her if that makes her mad. She says yes, so Hikigaya shows her that she has more followers than the others and she can easily win the election. Iroha thinks about the benefits she will have if she wins, and Hikigaya tells her that she could ask Hayama for help, and they would become closer, plus her class won't laugh at her behind her back. Later, Hikigaya goes to the club room and talks to Yu and Yukino. He tells her that it is not necessary for them to run for student council president. He managed to convince Iroha to accept being president, and he shows them the fake support accounts that he created on Twitter and then deleted. He only needed followers to convince Iroha, and he succeeded. Yu feels bad because she thought she had a fan club, and Yukino feels frustrated that she won't do anything again, and she leaves to tell Ms. Hiratsuka about the solution. Yu and Hikigaya are left alone, and he apologizes to her because she worked so hard on her possible candidacy. But she goes up to him and combs his hair and thanks him for protecting the place that she loves so much and asks if they can go back to normal. He isn't sure because he feels he left a loose end regarding Yukino. Days later, Iroha is elected president of the student council. Meiko puts her things away and Hikigaya helps her move the boxes. She tells him that she feels a little sad. She thought that Yukino would be president, Yu the vice president, and he would take care of the general's affairs, and she would come to visit them and talk about how successful the cultural and athletic festivals were thanks to the service club. Hikigaya feels that he has made a mistake, but there is no going back. Life is not a video game where you press reset and you can change your decisions. Winter begins and the service club can't get back to normal. Discomfort floods them even though they pretend that everything is fine. Yukino smiles slightly all the time. Yu tries to fill the silences with incessant chats, and Hikigaya listens to them without participating in the chats. In class, Hayama's group of friends talk about their Christmas plans, and Hikigaya watches them from afar. Then Yu approaches him and asks him to stop looking at them. It's creepy. Hikigaya doesn't understand why he was looking at them. Then Tatsuka enters the classroom and tells them that it's weird to see both of them talking. Yu excuses herself, saying that it's club stuff, and Hikigaya invites Tatsuka to spend time with them at the club. That surprises Yu, and she tells him to go to the club room together. Later, they go to the club together, and Yu prepares for her mask of false positivity. Yukino waits for them with her usual slight smile. Hikigaya internally reflects that they will not last long with this routine and realizes that he was observing the friends of Hayama to learn how to mend something that is falling apart. Suddenly, Iroha enters the club room crying. Her first job as student council president is to organize a Christmas event in conjunction with another school. She needs a lot of help, but they realize that Yukino wasn't paying attention to them. So she wakes up and accepts the job. Yu is excited to work together like before, but Hikigaya tells Iroha that they can't help the student council and kicks her out. But she tells him that he convinced her to be president and he thinks he has to take responsibility for what he did. So he agrees to help her on a personal level, not with the service club. When he returns to the club room, he tells them not to help Iroha. Yu gets even sadder, and Yukino thinks it's better if the club doesn't do anything. Later, Hikigaya accompanies Iroha to the committee of the joint Christmas event with students from another high school. To his bad luck, Kaori is also there. The meeting with the other student council doesn't go well. The other president seems like a braggart and takes advantage of Iroha's naivety, and she just gives her own council hard work. A second meeting doesn't go too well either, though Hikigaya tries to talk nonsense like the other student president, but Iroha doesn't help by accepting everything the others say. Later, Kaori talks to Hikigaya and asks him if he is Iroha's boyfriend. He tells her no, then she asks if he dated Yui or Yukino, but he answers that they are just girls from his service club, and Kaori does not know what a service club is and laughs hysterically. Hikigaya thinks there's nothing funny to be laughing like that. Hikigaya feels that he has made a mistake, but there is no going back. Life is not a video game where you press reset and you can change your decisions. The days are getting colder, as is the atmosphere in the service club room. While Hikigaya and Yu walk towards the room, she asks him if he thinks that Yukino wanted to be the student council president. He doesn't know. So Yu says that she knows that he is helping Iroha and he shouldn't be doing it alone. It is something that the club should do, but he does not say anything. At the club, Hikigaya tells Yukino that he will be leaving early every day. Later, he goes to the Christmas committee meeting, but Iroha hasn't arrived yet. He goes to look for her at the soccer club, but Hayama says that she already left her and thanks him for helping her. Hikigaya returns to the place of the meeting, and fortunately, Iroha has already arrived. As always, the meeting does not advance in the preparations, and this time it is worse, because the children of the elementary school that will participate in the event are there. Among the children, Hikigaya recognizes Rumi. At night, Hikigaya meets Tatsuka and they both go to eat together. He thinks that Hikigaya seems tired lately and asks him if something is wrong. But Hikigaya tells him that he helps Iroha because he got her into this mess. Tatsuka thinks he's cool, but Hikigaya doesn't agree. When he's alone, he thinks of the defeated smile of Yukino, the fake mask of positivity of Yu, and now how lonely Rumi is, and he wonders if he made mistakes all this time. The next day, they attend another meeting and meet Kaori. Iroha finds out that they were classmates in middle school and wonders if they were friends. Kaori says no suggestively, but Hikigaya clarifies that it happened a long time ago, and Kaori makes a face that he can't read. At the meeting, Iroha and her council don't know what to do, and Hikigaya instinctively gives them solutions and decides that this can't go on like this. He goes to talk to the other school president and gives him a list of what they can do with a tight budget. He says he'll think about it, but Hikigaya reminds him that they only have 1 week left. Then he sees that Rumi is making gold stars by herself and goes to help her even though she doesn't talk to him at first. When they finish, she smiles at him and thanks him. Hikigaya thinks that solving other people's problems is temporary, but does not last. Later, he is in the mall and meets Yukino. They talk without fighting for the first time in a long time. She realizes that he is helping Iroha alone. She says that he doesn't need to break down anymore, and maybe it's good that he takes a break from the club and not force. Miss Hiratsuka was passing by in her car and tells Hikigaya to get in and takes him to a bridge and asks him what is wrong. He tells her everything was going wrong in the Christmas joint event. She tells him that he is good at reading people's mental states, but not their emotions, and sometimes those two things don't match. He doesn't understand her, and she asks him about Yui and Yukino. She says that the problem for the two of them is in their heart. He says that it is something that he cannot understand. Then she gives him a hint. He's helping Iroha individually because if he is away from them, he won't hurt them, but Miss Hiratsuka tells him that one person will always hurt another. It's something that can't be avoided, and he doesn't want to hurt them because they are both important to him. Hikigaya still doesn't understand, and she says that he should do it for the sake of the club and for Yukino's sake. Then she says that she hopes that he and Yuo will be the ones to break through Yukino's shell. Later that night, while Komachi sleeps, Hikigaya thinks about how to solve the three problems: the Christmas event, Iroha, and Rumi. When dawn breaks, he wonders why he didn't allow Yu and Yukino to become student council president. The answer is because he wanted something. The next day, Hikigaya goes to the club room and knocks on the door to enter. He needs help, and he tells them that everything got out of control because of him. The Christmas event is going badly. Iroha is the president of the council because he asked her, and Rumi is still the same as before. Then Yukino tells him that he was to blame for all this, so he must solve the problems himself. Hikigaya is disappointed and tells her that she is right. Yu gets angry with both of them and says that this is not right. Hikigaya was the one who devised the plans before, but they also contributed, leaving everything in his hands. She tells Yukino that it is unfair how she is behaving. Yukino tells her that she herself is unfair because she behaved like nothing happened to pretend that they were fine. Hikigaya stops them and says that there are things that don't need to be spoken to understand, and Yu starts crying because if they don't talk, they will never be able to understand each other. Then Hikigaya breaks down and starts to cry. He found out that he wants something real, but Yukino doesn't understand. She hugs herself and runs away. Hikigaya freezes, but Yu shakes him. They must go together to find Yukino and make her understand. Although she doesn't understand either, they go to look for her, and Iroha tells them that Yukino is on the roof. The two arrive running, and Yukino tells them that she doesn't understand what he means by a real thing. Yu tells her that she doesn't understand either, but she doesn't like how things are, and hugs her crying. Yukino cries too while Hikigaya watches them. Then Yukino says that she accepts his requests, and Yui says that she will help too. He thanks them. When Hikigaya gets home, he can't take it anymore. He can't believe that he broke up in front of the girls, and Komachi makes fun of him. The next day, Hikigaya enters the club, and Yukino is ready to start working on the Christmas event, but he says that they should wait for Yu. She arrives immediately and very excited and sits very close to Yukino. Later, they meet with Iroha and are surprised when they see that Iroha and Hikigaya trust each other, and he carries Iroha's purchases. The four of them enter the Christmas committee meeting, and when it ends, Yukino comes out stressed. Everything is going wrong and there's a lot to do. The next day, the four of them go to talk to Miss Hiratsuka, and she tells Hikigaya that he has already completed his assignment and gives them 4 tickets to go to the Christmas amusement park so they can find out what Christmas is all about. But what was an outing of 4 people is transformed into an outing of 8. Yukino has an annual ticket that she can use, and they had a ticket left over, so Iroha invited Hayama, and Yui invited Yumiko, Ebina, and Tobe. The good thing is that everyone has a good time going up to different attractions, even though they don't understand what Christmas has to do with all of this. The one who has a great time is Yukino, who loves pandas, although she is uncomfortable with crowds. While she chose the souvenirs, Yu tells Hikigaya that she wants to return to this place when there are fewer people. He doesn't want to, but he gets the hint that she wants to return with him. So he tells her that they will come back someday. In the last frozen roller coaster, Hikigaya goes up with Yukino, and she was quite scared because in the past, her sister enjoyed scaring her. So she grabs his sleeve and asks him to save her one day. That leaves him confused. After that, he buys her a drink to take away her dizziness, and they talk about Haruno. She tells him that her sister was always the favorite one, because she's what the others want her to be, and Yukino wants something that her sister has. She also says that he has something that she wants but doesn't tell him what it is. At the end of the day, they all watch the fireworks, but Hayama and Iroha are not with them. While the fireworks light up the sky, they see how Iroha declares her feelings to Hayama, and he rejects her. Iroha breaks down crying and leaves running, while Hayama is left alone with tears in his eyes. Hayama feels guilty for rejecting Iroha, so the service club trio accompany her on the train, and then Hikigaya accompanies her to her stop. She cries and says that these is a phase to get closer to Hayama later, and he smiles at her move. She says it's his fault because she heard how he wanted something real, and she wants it too. The next day at the club, the trio meet with Iroha and her student council. Hikigaya tells them that in the next meeting they must make decisions and oppose further debating nonsense ideas proposed by the other high school. They have no more time, and it is time to act. Iroha agrees. At the Christmas event meeting, things continue as usual. Even Hikigaya tries to make them see reason, until Yukino scolds the other president, saying that he is a pretender who only speaks in terms that he does not understand to appear to be doing something. Yu tries to lighten the mood by saying that the two schools can show their individuality even if they work together. Kaoru says that she agrees, and the others whisper their agreement as well. After that, Iroha scolds Yukino and Hikigaya for being so rude before. Yukino says that she was right, so she won't apologize later. Kaoru gives a can of coffee to Hikigaya, and she tells him that before she thought he was a boring boy, but now she sees him with different eyes. They can even be friends. The Christmas preparations continue and go at a fast pace. Hikigaya realizes that Rumi keeps making decorations by herself, and he goes to help her and proposes to participate in his high school play. The day of the Christmas event is a total success for the two schools that work together, and Iroha shows that she is ready to be the student council president. At the end of the day, Yukino and Yu give Hikigaya a Christmas gift, a ceramic cup to drink coffee at the club. The day after Christmas, the Service Club trio and Komachi go to the temple, and Yu asks Hikigaya when they are going to buy Yukino's birthday present. He tells her that they can go tomorrow. She blushes and accepts. After that, Yu goes to Yumiko's house and Komachi makes an excuse to go somewhere else, so Yukino and Hikigaya go home alone. On the train, she tells him that she doesn't plan to visit her parents this holiday because it's better that way, and before he gets off at his stop, she tells him that she's looking forward to this year. The next day, Yu and Hikigaya go to look for a gift for Yukino at the mall, but they run into Haruno and Hayama. She thinks that the two are on a date, but they remind her that her sister's birthday is coming up. Then Haruno calls her sister, and she wants to hang up, but Haruno gives Hikigaya the phone. He greets her embarrassed, and Yukino says that she will go. At the restaurant, the four of them wait for Yukino. She is surprised to see Yui, but she is more surprised when she realizes that this was a trap by Haruno. Suddenly, her mom arrives and tells her to go with them to a celebration for her birthday. Hikigaya angrily realizes that he has been used to lure Yukino to an event she did not want to attend. Days later, the students talk about the subjects they want to study until a boy asks Hayama if it is true that he is dating Yukino. Hayama gets angry, and it turns out that a rumor spreads in the school that the two of them were seen in a date on winter break. After that, Yui, Hikigaya, and Iroha give Yukino their birthday presents, and Iroha takes the opportunity to ask her if she is dating Hayama. Yukino coldly replies that this is a lie. Iroha tells them that now many girls bother Hayama because they think he is dating Yukino, and she demonstrates it with Hikigaya. She uses a soft voice and soft eyes to ask him if he is dating someone. Hikigaya blushes and says no. The girls understand what she means, but they did not like how Iroha talked to Hikigaya. Suddenly, they receive an email from Yumiko asking how to choose the subjects they want to take. She needs help, and immediately, she enters the club room while Iroha leaves. As soon as Yumiko enters, she asks Yukino if it's true that she's dating Hayama, and Yukino gets angry and tells her that is not true. Then Yumiko asks again what happened a few years ago between the two of them, and this time Yukino gets really angry and starts screaming that it doesn't matter anymore because it wouldn't change the present at all. Yu and Hikigaya ask them to calm down, and Yukino says that as long as the people closest to her understand her, she will be fine. She refers to Yu and Hikigaya. Then, Yumiko starts crying and says that she has little time left with Hayama, and she wants to be with him as much as possible. But he doesn't want to tell her what subjects he will take. Hikigaya says that maybe he doesn't want to be followed, but still he will find out for her. The trio watches Hayama at his soccer practice, and since it's very late, Hikigaya says that it will be easier to ask him alone. The girls don't want to leave him alone, but it's for the best. Later, Hikigaya asks Hayama what subjects he will take, but he evades his question and asks him to stop being so intrusive. The next day, Iroha asks the Survive Club for help to reorganize a room. At that moment, Haruno arrives, and Yukino asks if she knows about Hayama's future plans, but Haruno says that she shouldn't lean on others when thinking in her future. Later, Haruno asks Hikigaya to walk home together, and he agrees. On the way home, she asks him to find out what Yukino plans for her future, and also tells him that maybe Hayama is hoping someone will find him. The next day is the annual men's race. Everyone expects Hayama to win for the second year in a row and cheers for him, while Yukino, Yui, and Iroha cheer on Hikigaya. Hayama easily takes the lead and runs alone until he is caught up by Hikigaya. He asks Hayama if he used Yumiko to repel the other girls, and Hayama doesn't answer him. Then Hikigaya asks him what to choose, liberal arts or science, and Hayama refuses to tell him. Then Hikigaya tells him that he should choose science, since many girls don't choose that subject, and surely his friends won't choose it either. That will allow him to make a clean cut. Hayama tells him that he won't listen to him because he feels inferior to him, and he doesn't plan to lose to him either. He accelerates and runs away. Hikigaya tries to follow him but falls and hurts his knee. At the end of the day, Hayama won the race, and he publicly thanks Yumiko and Iroha. After the race, Hikigaya goes to the infirmary, and there he meets Yukino. She insists on treating his knee as she bandages his knee. He asks her what subjects she'll take, and she tells him liberal arts. He'll take that too. And when she finishes bandaging it, they don't realize that their faces were so close. They both blush and stare into each other's eyes for a long time, until Hikigaya gets up and leaves. Yu was at the door. She invites them to an after party organized by Hayama, and they surprisingly decide to go. In the pub, Hayama apologizes to Yukino for the trouble that the rumor caused her. She says that it didn't cause her trouble at all, but she thanks him for his concern and leaves with Yue. Hayama thinks that she has changed a bit, so he talks to Hikigaya and tells him that he won't choose any subject, leaving him surprised. Days later, Hikigaya meets Haruno. She wants to know her sister's future plans and is surprised when Hikigaya tells her that he does know but he doesn't plan to tell her. She mocks and says that her sister doesn't really trust him, but she feels something more cruel, and it is not something real. That annoys him too much. Valentine's Day approaches and Hayama makes it clear that he doesn't accept chocolates. This disappoints Yumiko and Iroha. Later at the club, Iroha asks Hikigaya if he likes sweets and Yui and Yukino say yes. She says that she will give him obligatory chocolates, but Yu implies that she will give Hikigaya chocolates. Suddenly, several girls enter the club. Yukino wants to make chocolates for Hayama, even though he doesn't accept them, while Ebino wants Hikigaya to give Hayama chocolates and Seki wants to help her little sister make chocolates. After they leave, Yukino is amazed at how many requests for help they got in a single day, and they are all about chocolate. Iroha proposes to do a cooking event to learn how to make chocolates. Yu and Yukino agree. Hikigaya will be in charge of taste them. Then Iroha talks to her vice president, and she also talked to the other student council president. The two high schools will collaborate on a cooking event again. The cooking event begins and Haruno will be the instructor. The girls work hard making chocolates and Iroha makes Hikigaya taste hers. Then Kaori tells him that she will give him chocolates this year. This angers Yu, Yukino, and Iroha. Then Haruno says that Yukino gave Hayama chocolates when they were children. This angers Yumiko, Iroha, and Hikigaya. After that, Haruno bothers her sister by asking her who she will give her chocolates to. Yukino gets nervous and throws a bowl, making a lot of noise. She blushes and Hikigaya helps her and they both blush looking at each other. Then Yu grabs the bowl and spins it around in her fingers to lighten the mood, though she feels sad when she sees the two of them. After many tries, the chocolates, cookies, and sweets are ready and the girls share their creations with all the boys. Yu and Yukino give Hikigaya a chocolate muffin that the two of them made and he thanks them. Haruno gets between them again and tells them that they bore her and she prefers the old Yukino. After that, they feel uncomfortable with each other again. At night, Yu and Hikigaya accompany Yukino to her house. But to Yukino's surprise, her mother was waiting for her. She scolds her for her future plans and thinks that she is an irresponsible girl who returns home at night. Yui intercedes for her and tells her that the three of them were helping out at a student council event. This reassures Yukino's mother and her daughter promises to explain everything about her, but not today, and then she leaves. They say goodbye and go their separate ways. Days later in the club room, Yukino apologizes for what happened with her mother, but they assure her that all mothers are like that. They all argue with their children all the time. Then Hikigaya tells them that Komachi's entrance exam is coming up and she fights a lot with her mother. The girls are sure that she will pass the exam, but Hikigaya's real concern is that his sister is cute and pretty. She will be popular, and she will have to worry about the boys around her. This amuses Yu and Yukino, so she takes out 2 bags of cookies. She was practicing. She gives 1 bag to Yu, and she opens the other bag and puts the cookies on a plate and offers them to Hikigaya, who blushes. At the school gates, the trio say goodbye and Yukino does not dare to give Hikigaya a bag of special cookies. At that moment, Haruno appears to pick up her sister and tells her that from now on, they will live together by orders of their mother. So Yu tells Yukino to hang out at her house today and Yukino agrees. At Yu's house, her mother tells them that Yu always talks about Hikigaya, so Yu throws her out of her room. Yu tells Yukino that she should spend the night there. They look at Hikigaya for answers and he tells Yukino that neither she nor her sister are thinking clearly, so they should take the night off. After that, Yukino calls her sister and repeats the same words that he said to her. At night, Yui invites Yukino on a date, and in the morning, Yui invites Hikigaya on a date. Later, the three meet and Yu tells them that she wanted a 3-way date and takes them to the aquarium. They have a good time watching the fish and sharks. After, they go out to see the penguins. It turns out that penguin mate for life and Yukino leaves Yu and Hikigaya alone to watch them. But Hikigaya follows her to the next aquarium, leaving Yu alone. Then, Yukino watches a fish and says that if the fish doesn't find where it really belongs, it will go with the flow and run into an invisible wall. Yukino was talking about her. In the end, they get on the Ferris wheel and Hikigaya reflects that a Ferris wheel never moves forward, but instead goes around the same place over and over again. The outing is over and Yu asks them what they are going to do. She refers to the 3 of them. Then she takes out a bag of cookies and gives them to Hikigaya. It is a way of thanking him for helping her last year when they met. Then Yu says that she is a selfish person and wants everything for herself, so she tells Yukino that if she wins the service club contest, she will have to leave her future in her hands. Yukino begins to cry without being able to refuse. Hikigaya intercedes and says that this is wrong. She can't decide for Yukino. Yu says that she knew that he would intercede for Yukino. Then, Yukino composes herself and says that they can't decide how she feels. Also says that she has a request for the club. One day, Hikigaya meets Iroha at the mall, and she apologizes for being late for their date, which takes him by surprise. He is there because she asked him for a favor. It turns out that he told her that he would help her with Hayama, so Iroha wants them to do light fun things and then she will take Hayama on a date. Hikigaya accepts and proposes to see a movie, but separately, she doesn't like that and proposes to go play ping pong together, and Hikigaya accepts. After many matches, Hikigaya beats her and tells her that she should pay for lunch, but she refuses because she never promised it. He says that Hayama might like her cunning personality, but Iroha doesn't believe it and she says that she will only show her true face to him. After that, they go to eat ramen. She first refuses, but when she tastes it, she falls in love with the dish. Then they go to a cafeteria, and she asks the waiter to take a picture of them as if they were a couple. At the end of the non-date, she tells him that he should use this as a reference for the future and leaves. Days later in the club room, Iroha thanks Hikigaya for the good time they had together the other day. Yu and Yukino are surprised but don't say anything. Then Iroha tells them that she wants to make a free school newspaper with recommendations for cafes, places to hang out, and restaurants, and starts showing them photos of the places she's already visited. And she purposely shows them the photo of the two of them in a cafeteria. Iroha says that he accompanied her to do coverage for the future newspaper and gives Yu Yukino a camera to look for more recommendations, and they both ask Hikigaya to accompany them. On the weekend, the three of them go to a lot of fun places, including a women's clothing store, a pet store, and watch a movie together, and of course, take lots of photos. The next day, Iroha is delighted with the result when she sees the pictures of them, and she decides to take a photo of the three of them to create a service club memory. They pose for the photo, and they are satisfied when Iroha shows them. Season 3, Hikigaya buys Yu and Yukino hot drinks and gives to them. When he is about to drink his, he realizes that in his pocket he has the bag of cookies that Yu made for him. She tells him that she doesn't know if they have good taste, but she remembered that he told her once that what mattered was her effort, not the taste. When it stops snowing, they walk home and Hikigaya asks Yukino about her life, but Yu says that they can wait for her. But Yukino tells them that she doesn't know what to do with her life because her mother told her to do what she wants in the past, and she feels that she has no personality of her own, but now she wants to work in the family business. But her mother tied up Haruno at work without asking her, so she wants to talk to her sister about it, and she asks the two of them to be with her until the end. When they arrive at Yukino's house, Haruno greets them and is a little drunk. Yukino tells her that they have to talk. The next day, it is Komachi's high school entrance exam, so Hikigaya goes to wait for her at a cafeteria until she finishes her exam. There he meets Saki and her little sister Kita. He buys her a chocolate dessert while chatting with Saki about the future. Later, Komachi finishes her exam and goes to the cafeteria where her brother is waiting for her. She still has a lot of adrenaline from the exam, so she immediately starts arguing with her brother because he told her that he loved her. This amuses Saki, and she leaves. So Komachi tells Hikigaya that she wants to do housework, so they go shopping, but Hikigaya takes her to de-stress at an arcade. Later, Komachi is making dinner and doesn't let him help her. After that, she goes to sit next to Hikigaya and says that he always took care of her when she was a little girl, and he pampered her too much. So her hobby now is doing housework and pampering him, and she thanks him from the bottom of her heart for being a good brother to her. Hikigaya is surprised and starts crying as she leaves. He realizes that the graduation is near, and she is distancing herself from him. The next day at school, Hayama talks to Hikigaya about Yukino, and he remembers what happened that night when they accompanied Yukino to talk to Haruno. Yukino told her sister that she wants to talk to her mother about her future. It doesn't matter if she is rejected. She doesn't want to regret not having tried to manage her own life, so Haruno told her that they should go back to living in their parents' house. Although she will not have so many freedoms, Yukino accepted and Yu helped her pack. Haruno left with the excuse of going to a convenience store, but in reality, she was waiting for Hikigaya outside to talk to him. She told him that he will help her sister to get what she wants, and she asks him to be with her until the end, and he says that he will. Haruno said that she feels that she is behaving like an older sister and whispers in his ear that he will never change before leaving. Back in the present, Yu and Hikigaya go to the club room and Yukino is waiting for them with tea. Suddenly, Iroha comes in with a projector and the four of them watch a TV drama about an American graduation party. Iroha wants this year's graduation party to be a prom with the king and queen of the students. Hayama will be the king and she will be the queen. The club tells her that it will be very difficult to organize, so Iroha says that the student council will do it. Before she leaves, Yukino asks why she wants to do a prom this year, and Iroha says that she wants to do it for herself. So Yukino agrees to help her organize the prom, but she will do it alone. She wants to know if she is capable of doing something alone. So Yu tells her not to overload herself with work, and she must ask for help when she needs it. Then Yu and Yukino make the pinky promise. Iroha is so happy to receive help from Yukino that she hugs her, thanking her. At the end of the day, Yu returns to her house and feels sad while she looks at a photo of the three of them. She wants to forget that she discovered a hidden photo in Yukino's room. Only Yukino and Hikigaya appeared in that photo. She was suspicious about Yukino's feelings, but chose to ignore them all this time. Days later, the results of the entrance exams are out and Komachi and Saki's brother passed. They both managed to enter high school. Hikigaya and Saki run downstairs to meet their siblings. Komachi starts crying as she hugs her brother, then cries harder when she hugs Yu, and they both call Yukino to tell her the good news. Later, Iroha asks Hikigaya for a favor, but he asks her about Yukino and warns her to not leave all the work to her regarding the prom. Iroha thinks that he is overprotective of Yukino, and he says that he is used to overprotect people thanks to Komachi. Then Iroha again asks him to go to the student council with her tomorrow and reminds him that she is not his sister. She does not need his protection. The next day, Hikigaya goes to the student council meeting and is surprised to see Yua there. She was also called to do a favor. It turns out that today they are going to film the publicity spot for the prom party, and there will be a session of photos to promote the party. Then Hikigaya says that he is not aware of the details of the prom, and Yukino tells him that he does not use social networks, so that is why he does not find out anything, and shows him that she created an account where she uploads all the information about the event. Then Hikigaya says that he doesn't know what favor Iroha wants. According to Iroha, she forgot to tell Hikigaya what kind of favor she wanted. Hikigaya must dress in a tuxedo to dance with Yuo. While they are being filmed, there will also be more couples. Yukino puts on a tailcoat and will be Iroha's gentleman who wears a princess dress. As he puts on his tuxedo, a rueful Iroha tells him that he was right. She was inadvertently leaving all the work to Yukino, but she won't anymore. After that, they all go to the gym that is decorated for the photo session and follow the orders of Iroha and Yukino. After that, they turn off the lights and the couples must dance to the rhythm of the music. Hikigaya gets nervous to dance with Yua, but they do it spectacular. After a while, Hikigaya hides against a wall and smiles, saying that proms aren't his thing. The next day, the school vibrates with excitement when they see the promotional videos of the prom Yukino, and Iroha's plan was a success. Now all that remains is to choose the photos that will be printed in the brochures. Yu chose the good photos of her and Hikigaya. After that, Yukino thanks them for their help and says that if they need more help, she will call them. Then Yu and Hikigaya leave and Yu wants to go out with him. So he takes the hint and asks her to go with him to buy something for Komachi. They go through the mall looking for a gift for Komachi, but they are entertained in the home section. They talk about their future and the dream jobs they had as children. Unlike Yukino, who already has a career path in mind, they haven't decided yet. Then Yu surprises Hikigaya by saying that she also thought about being a bride. When they return to school, Iroha tells them that there is an emergency and they should go with her. It turns out that Yukino's mom and sister are at school. Yukino's mother is a member of the school parents association, and she wants to cancel the prom because she received complaints from some parents who consider the prom inappropriate for high school students. Even some students graduating this year disagree with the prom. Hikigaya realizes that Yukino's mother is scary. With a sweet smile, she makes you think that she listens to you. But she decides everything in what she says is in order, so he asks Ms. Hiratsuka what the school thinks about the problem. She says that they are against canceling the prom altogether. They must make changes that the PTO will approve, so Yukino agrees to make appropriate changes to the prom and her mother is satisfied. After that, Hikigaya is ready to get to work on the prom changes, but Yukino tells him that it's the student council's job and not the club's. She wants to solve this alone. Haruno tells Hikigaya that he can't just act like Yukino's big brother all the time and want to fix every problem she encounters along the way, so maybe their mother will change her mind if she sees that Yukino is able to pull the prom on her own. In class, Hikigaya remembers that Haruno once told him that the relationship he has with Yukino is codependency, and Yukino needs to grow up to become an adult, but he asks what Yukino means to sacrifice to grow up, and Haruno tells him that just like her, Yukino will have to sacrifice many things. Later, Yu proposes to bake a cake for Komachi, but suddenly she receives a message from Iroha. She tells her that the prom has been cancelled. Hikigaya immediately calls Ms. Hiratsuka, and she tells him that they did not tell him because of Yukino's request. He says that they have to save the prom and he will go to help Yukino, because he promised her once that he would save her. So he tells Yu that he's going to school to help Yukino, and Yu starts to tear up. But she excuses himself, saying that she cries because she's happy knowing that he is going to save Yukino. Hikigaya runs to Yukino and Yu hides to cry uncontrollably. She knows that he will always run to Yukino, but still, she decided to go ahead with Hikigaya, and now her heart breaks to pieces for being left out. Hikigaya arrives at the school and talks with Ms. Hiratsuka. She tells him that the prom has not been officially cancelled because the school wants the students to cancel it voluntarily. He says that he wants to help Yukino, even though she didn't want to, and Ms. Hiratsuka tells him that he should be careful because this is a trial that Yukino set for herself, and he says that walking away from her is not an option. So he goes to the student council room, but Iroha doesn't let him pass and takes him somewhere else to talk to him. She asks him why he is so overprotective of Yukino, but he evades the question. She says that Yukino will reject his help, but Hikigaya is going to help her even if he is rejected. She asks again why he helps her so much, and he finally answers that this is his responsibility. Because of him, she believes that they have a codependent relationship. It is not like that. Satisfied with the answer, Iroha leads him towards Yukino. Hikigaya tells her that he found out about the prom and wants to help her. She says that she's making the necessary changes for the prom to be approved, but he says that these are not normal circumstances. The Parents Association does not care about the changes. They want to cancel the prom anyway. So he asks her to let him help her like he always has, but she refuses. He knows that she thinks she is codependent on him, but he proposes to do things differently this time. He will make his own plan to save the prom and she will do another one. It is not necessary to work together, and he reminds her that they are still competing to see who can solve more problems in the service club. She accepts and reminds him that the one who loses must do what the other wants, and he blushes. Yukino warns him that she hates losing, and Iroha feels that they are a couple in their own world. They speak things that only they understand. Seeing them from the outside is frustrating, and she feels left out. On the way home, Hikigaya is caught up by Iroha, and she hints that she wants to drink something with him, so he buys coffee, and she apologizes to him for all the trouble about the prom. But he says that at some point they should stop this constant loop between Yukino and him. So he asks her the real reason for a prom, and she tells him that she already knows that Miss Hiratsuka is leaving school. It's an open secret, and she wants to send her off in style. She has always been there for Iroha, and she wants the farewell to be a time of celebration, not sadness. Hikigaya is proud that Miss Hiratsuka is in the hearts of her students. Later at home, Hikigaya asks Komachi what she is doing for her graduation. She says that she will go with her friends on a trip. He forbids her, but she just ignores him. Then he shows her that his school will have a prom, and Komachi thinks that it is hip and is very happy. Hikigaya is willing to do everything to make the prom happen. The next day, Yu talks to Hikigaya and he tells her that Yukino refused his help, so the only way to help her indirectly is by competing against her. So Yu tells him that she will help him. They go to the cafeteria and he tells Yu that they have to create another prom, but it must be a bad prom, a prom that makes Yukino's prom look good, and the PTA will be forced to choose a prom, and it will be Yukino's, since the school does not want to cancel a prom. They are between a rock and a hard place because of the Parents Association. His prom will be a fake prom, but it still has to be credible and legit, so they call Saki, Tatsuka, and Zamakuza to help them, but Seki is helping Yukino with her prom, but totally supports Hikigaya. Tatsuka asks him why he's doing this, and Hikigaya tells him that he doesn't care about the prom, but he wants to help Yukino by competing with her. Zamakuza is totally horrified when he seeks information about proms and is in favor of competing against Yukino, so he will help them. Later, Yui and Hikigaya rent a room to work and do research for their prom. First, they watch a movie and get ideas. They have to find a place for the party, and Yui proposes the beach. After that, Yui pretends to fall asleep to leaning her head on Hikigaya's shoulder. She knows the future is set in stone, and she can't get between he and Yukino, but she just wants to spend a little more time with him. The next day, Zamakusa introduces Yui and Hikigaya to two boys from the gaming club, Hatano and Sagami. They are willing to help with the fake prom. Hikigaya promises them that next year they will be able to decide their own prom. If necessary, he will talk to Iroha, so she will accept their ideas in the future. The 5 students start brainstorming to make a fake prom that the PTA can reject. Yu suggests making it as big as possible and collaborating with another high school like they did before. But first they need a name for the committee and help from another clubs. Hikigaya asks who is the top club, and Yu says that it is the captain committee, Hayama's committee, so Hikigaya will talk to him. The next day is Komachi's birthday, but Hikigaya is busy because he will have a meeting with Tamanawa, president of the student council of another high school, to have a prom party together. Kaori also goes to the meeting and gets mad that Hikigaya no longer has her phone number. As always, Tamanawa is very hard to talk to, so he and Hikigaya face off in a freestyle rap battle, where the president makes it clear that he doesn't agree with the prom and Hikigaya tries to convince him. Later, Yu and Hikigaya go to school and Zamakusa tells Hikigaya that he has a name for them, the Psycho Project. The others love the name and start working on designing the brochures and creating social media accounts. After that, Hikigaya wants to talk to Hayama and goes to the soccer club, but on the way he meets Yukino and prefers to stay with her. They immediately plunge into their world of endless arguments about heat, saunas, and the weather. That makes them happy. Then they have a can of coffee while enjoying the break, but at that moment, Yu arrives and sees them together. She tells Hikigaya that Hayama is waiting for them, that Yukino leaves without saying anything but is stopped by Yu. She says that she hasn't seen her for days, and Yukino makes the excuse that it's because of the prom preparations. Yu doesn't believe her and thinks that she is avoiding her, so she tells him that she is helping Hikigaya to win. She wants a wish, and Yukino tells her that her wish is the same as hers and leaves, but Yui runs after her and hugs her and tells her that after the prom she wants to do many things with her. Go out to eat, go to the beach, go to the sauna, have sleepovers and travel. Yukino doesn't know she can do all that, but wants to do it. Hikigaya watches the two of them in silence with a prayer in his heart. At night, Hayama tells Hikigaya that he can't help him because the captain committee is collaborating with Yukino. So Hikigaya asks him to help him as a single person, but Hayama doesn't want to and tells him that he's making a mistake and not helping Yukino. Years ago, he made the same mistake by not helping her. She didn't want his help, so he didn't help her, and to this day he feels guilty. Hikigaya says that he wants to help Yukino, but she doesn't want to, and this is the only way to do it, to show her that their relationship is not codependent. Hayama tells him that what he feels is another emotion. He refers to love, but Hikigaya says it's man's pride. The next day, Yu asks Yumiko and Abina for help to go to the beach. and take photos for their brochures and website. Although it is very cold, Yumiko and Yu pose for photos, and Abina shows Hikigaya the proper way to take stylized photos for brochures, and the result is perfect. Days later, the website is ready, and it is almost a professional job thanks to the guys from the gaming club. The next thing is to promote it on social networks. Later, Yu and Hikigaya go to talk to Haruno. He wants her to leak the news of the Psycho project, but Haruno thinks that what Hikigaya is doing is a form of codependency with her sister, since he is helping her anyways. She thinks it is better that he observes her from afar. Yu interrupts her and says that looking from afar is abandoning the person you love. Haruno agrees to help them but reminds Hikigaya that his real opponent is her mother, not Yukino. The next day, Miss Hiratsuka tells Hikigaya that there is someone who wants to talk to him. On the way to the staff room, she invites him to eat ramens for all the work he is doing. Hikigaya and Miss Hiratsuka enter the staff room, and Yukino's mother asks him if he is behind the new prom proposal. He says yes, and she tells him that even if there are more options, the origin of the problem remains the same. Then Hikigaya realizes that she is not the enemy, since she came on behalf of the Parents Association. Those parents are the ones who need to be convinced. Hikigaya tells her that he wants to convince them, and she asks his name and is surprised when she realizes that he's the boy who was hit by the family limo. So she agrees to a meeting with the other parents. Meanwhile, in a coffee shop, Hayama and Haruno talk about Yukino and Hikigaya. He tells her that what they feel is not codependency, but she says that she is pushing him to find out the truth and remembers that she talked to Yu. Yu thinks that Haruno is right about the codependency between them, but she doesn't fit between the two of them. So Haruno tells her that Hikigaya is codependent on her, and since she loves him, she helps him in any way she can, even though she hurts herself. Later, Hikigaya goes to talk to Yukino. He tells her that her proposal was approved, so she wins the competition. Yukino says that he won because his plan worked. Hikigaya disagrees, but Yukino starts tearing up and tells him that she was so confident that his plan would work that she realized that she was still depending on him. Then Hikigaya says that he accepts defeat and will fulfill her wish. Then Yukino says that she wants him to fulfill Yu's wish. He accepts resignedly and leaves. As Yukino locks the club room, she prays that this will all come to an end. That night, Yukino talks to Yu and thanks her for helping her. The prom has been approved thanks to the fake prom. Then Yukino smiles slightly and tells her that she asked Hikigaya to fulfill her wish. Then Yu internally thinks that her relationship with Yukino is over because she wants everything, even if it's unfair. That same night, Komachi notices that her brother is more thoughtful than usual and asks him if something is wrong with him. He tells her that a lot is happening, but he will tell him when it's all over. The next day, Hikigaya invites Yu for a walk and asks her what her wish is. She jokes with him and lists many changes that he must make to himself. Then she tells him that he takes everything very seriously and tells him that her true desire is to help Yukino. Until the end, she wants the prom to be a success. She also wants to throw a party for Komachi, go out to hang out somewhere, and lastly, her wish is to fulfill his wish. He doesn't know what he wants, so she tells him to think about it. The next day, Yumiko tells Hikigaya not to play with Yu's feelings and leaves. Later, Yu and Hikigaya meet Yukino and Iroha. They ask how the prom is progressing. Yukino says that there are some minor problems, but everything is going well. Iroha tries to ask him for help, but Yukino intervenes. As Iroha leaves, she whispers to Hikigaya to help them on the day of the prom. Hikigaya wonders if one day they will have to get used to the awkwardness between him and Yukino. After that, Yu invites him to hang out at her house. He doesn't want to go, but she tells him that they are going to bake a cake for Komachi, so he agrees to go. Later that day, Hikigaya feels very uncomfortable because they are at Yu's house alone. Luckily, Yu's mom arrives and helps them choose a recipe. Hikigaya thinks that it has to be something to show off, and she chose a fruit tart. After that, they go to the market to buy fruits, and when they return, they start working on the desserts. Yu takes the opportunity to feed Hikigaya in the mouth, and her mother too, although he declines. The fruit tarts are delicious, but the secret ingredient is missing, and Yu's mom whispers in her ear, and she blushes. Hikigaya says that the secret ingredient is hunger or devotion. At the end of the day, Yu tells him that she had a lot of fun and thanks him. He gives her fruit cakes that he made with the secret ingredient and tells her that his cookies were delicious. As he leaves, he reflects that life would be easier if he only had to fulfill Yu's wishes. The day of the graduation certificate ceremony, Iroha and Megu give farewell speeches to the graduating students. Megu can't hold back her tears while reading the speech, remembering the cultural festival and the athletics festival. That makes the students cry. Even Hikigaya cries, so Tatsuka gives him a handkerchief. Tonight is the prom, and Yui and Hikigaya will help the student council led by Iroha and Yukino. Hikigaya will be in charge of the sound together with Iroha, so he tests the microphones, and Yukino gives him his headset. He apologizes for helping at the prom, but is a favor for Iroha. Yukino says that Iroha will never let him go. After that, Hikigaya goes to the sound room, and Iroha asks him if he will be in the service club next year. He thinks that the club will not exist, but Iroha says that there is a vacancy in the student council. She can make room for all three. Hikigaya thinks that this could have been a solution in the past and tells her that she's a good-hearted girl. The prom begins with photos of the school year that move the graduates and continues with music and food. Everything is perfect. When the night ends, Hikigaya talks to Yui, and she tells him that she wants him to fulfill another wish. She wants to dance with him. Then Hikigaya behaves like a gentleman and dances a waltz with her. When the music ends, she tells him that the next wish will be a last. After that, Yukino and Hikigaya have to coordinate the last song of the night, and she tells him that she hopes he will grant Yu's wish, and he says that he will. Later, the student council and the students who helped with the prom celebrate the success until Yukino's mom arrives and congratulates her. Then Haruno says that this is the future Yukino wants. Her mom gets serious, so Yukino says that she wants to work with her dad. Everyone is silent, but her mother says that she will support her in everything and leaves. The trio from the service club are left alone and fondly remember their time at the club. Yu says that there were sad and awkward moments, but also happy and joyful moments, so she loves all the time they spent together. She and Yukino say that it is time to finish it. Hikigaya is silent, and luckily for him, Iroha interrupts them, and he runs away, but Yukino chases after him and grabs his arm. She thanks him for helping her at the prom and for everything he did for but from now on, she will work hard to do things on her own, so Hikigaya takes her hand and removes it from his arm. Outside of school, he bumps into Haruno. She tells him that this is far from over, since nothing satisfies her mother, and tells him that he must be honest with Yukino, or they will spend years regretting it. After that, Miss Hiratsuka offers Hikigaya to take him home, but he doesn't want to go, so she takes him to the batting cages, and she unloads hitting some balls. Then they talk, and he tells her that Haruno thinks he is codependent, but Miss Hiratsuka tells him that he shouldn't encapsulate the feelings of all three in one word. Hikigaya agrees with Miss Hiratsuka, and she tells him that if she encapsulates all of his flaws in one word, she will choose love, since he is one of her dearest students, and gives him some advice. If he doesn't want to encapsulate his feelings in a word, then he has to use many words to create an answer. That night at his house, he looks at the photo of the three of them and reflects on how they distorted their relationship into something without a solution. So he must end this false relationship between the three of them in order to have a genuine one. The next day, Hikigaya and Yu go for a walk, and she asks him if it's all over. She wants to tell him her last wish, so he tells her that the club's closure is inevitable, and it's a good thing. Yu wants to tell him something, but he keeps thinking about Yukino. He says that he won't accept the end of everything if she chose the closure of the club because she is sacrificing herself for something, so he doesn't intend to distance himself from her. Yu gets sad and says that he and Yukino will always be connected. He thinks that Yukino would not understand, so Yui changes her attitude completely and scolds him. He has to talk to Yukino. Then Yu tells him her last wish. She wants everything. She wants to be where the two of them are, and he says that he will fulfill it. Hikigaya apologizes for being a logical person who cannot respond to the feelings of others. She can't wait a guy like him. Yu is surprised, but says that she doesn't expect anything. Then he walks her to her house, and she happily says goodbye to him. When she enters her house, tears begin to fall, and her mother hugs her, telling her to let it out. Her crying is painful. The next day, Iroha interrogates Zamakusa, Atano, and Sagami. According to social media, the false prom is still on and will be done in conjunction with the other high school. The boys say that yesterday, Hikigaya asked them to help him, and they thought it was a mistake, but they still helped him. Meanwhile, Yukino's mom is at school talking to Hikigaya and Yukino. He says he wants to do the fake prom because he and some people were dissatisfied with the prom, and this time the Parents Association can't complain because it's not an official event of the student council. It will be an event with volunteer work, and he asks Yukino to help him organize it because she's an expert in proms. Yukino's mother says that as a representative of the Parents Association, she can't comment on the issue, but as a mother, she is against it, so it's something for Yukino to decide for herself. Yukino accepts the work. Later, Hikigaya and Yukino walk home, and he tells her that he did all this so as not to distance himself from her, because the two are bad at maintaining human bonds. Yukino says that he should fulfill Yu's wish, and he says that being together is to fulfill Yu's wish. She is speechless and walks faster. Then Hikigaya takes her hand and stops her. He asks her not to separate him from her life, to allow him to continue distorting her life. He will give his everything if she allows him to continue being involved in her life. She says that those are not the words he should use. He knows that, so she lists all her flaws and he accepts them and says that they are good things. He grabs her hand and puts it on his heart. He says that he will give her everything, and if she doesn't want it, she can throw it away. But he doesn't plan to distance this from her, so she says she wants everything from him. The next day, Hikigaya and Yukino are in the club room, and they blush every time they are near each other. They start to organize the fake prom and realize that they need manpower. Yukino will ask Yu for help, and he will look for other students. Then they realize they need a location, and Hikigaya proposes to go together tomorrow to observe a place near the beach. The next day, the two continue to blush, and especially Yukino. When Hikigaya praises her new hairstyle, then they take photos as if they were a couple on a date, although they have to take several because he comes out with rotten eyes in most of them. In the afternoon, they witness a wedding and Yukino says that they could use that place in the future. Hikigaya blushes and says that they are skipping some steps. He was already thinking about marriage, but Yukino was referring to the place for the prom. The next day, the club room is full of all the students who were helped by the service club. Iroha brought her student council and Yui is the last to arrive. Everyone is ready to help them. After many hours of work, the boys go to the sauna at break and Tove asks Hikigaya if he is dating Yukino. He blushes and Tatsuka reminds them that they should just watch them. Several days later, the day of the fake prom has arrived. Komachi already wears her new high school uniform and goes to the party. Yu praises her new uniform and introduces her to Iroha. Both get along well, and Komachi asks about her brother. Hikigaya is with Yukino, talking away from the others. Iroha tells Yu to go interrupt them since there is no law that prohibits a girl from liking a boy with a girlfriend. Komachi laughs and says that Iroha would be a good match with her brother, since the two have similar personalities. Meanwhile, Yukino's mom tells her that several parents will complain after the event, but Yukino says smilingly that she will take responsibility because she is in charge of the prom. Her mother is proud of her, even though she doesn't say so. The event went well, although there were some little problems here and there. Miss Hiratsuka congratulates Hikigaya and tells him that he's living his youth in his own way and reminds him of what he thought about youth in the past. Hikigaya is embarrassed and she asks him to dance a waltz with her as a farewell, a dance without music, but are interrupted because she steps on his foot and they fall. She wants to help him up, but he does it on his own and then he shakes her hand and thanks her for always watching over him. After that, Hikigaya goes to talk to Yukino and she tells him everything he has to do, but before leaving, she tells him that she loves him and leaves him alone. Hikigaya is left blushing and speechless. Now it's his turn to say it at some point. Days later, the spring of their third year begins. Yukino and Hikigaya are in an empty room that used to be their club. She invites him to eat at her house because her mother is very fond of him, but they are interrupted by Komachi. She wants to join the service club, but her brother reminds her that the club no longer exists. At that moment, Iroha enters and declares that the service club is reopening. She is president of the student council, approved the request of Komachi, who will be the president of the club. Iroha tells them that they will have a request soon. Suddenly, Yu walks in and tells them that she likes a guy who has a girlfriend, but she is her best friend, and she wants to be her friend forever. Yukino is moved and tells her that this story will take a long time. She sits down to listen to it. Hikigaya smiles and thinks that his teen romantic comedy is wrong as he expected. The next day, the service club quartet plus Iroha are bored because no one comes to ask for their helps, so Iroha asks them to help her with student council tasks. The prom left them with no budget. After that, Hikigaya and Yukino leave to have lunch with her mother. Iroha bets that they will fight, but Iroha says that her brother will hide in the bathroom. Yu does not want to bet, but hopes that everything will work out well. On the train, Yukino tells Hikigaya that they are going to a restaurant, and she puts on his tie on him as if they were married, and they both blush. Meanwhile, the other girls went with Komachi for drinks and joke about Hikigaya being a womanizer. Then Komachi and Iroha give you advice on how to deal with Yukino and Hikigaya being a couple. At the restaurant, Hikigaya doesn't know what cutlery to use, so Yukino hits her leg to signal him which cutlery to use. Then Yukino's mom starts questioning him about everything. The next day, Yukino is angry with Hikigaya because he spoke rudely to her mother, so Komachi proposes to buy Chiba's handmade sweets so she will forgive him. But they are interrupted by Yu. She wants to have a date with him and go to the aquarium. They recreate the date of 3 that they had in winter, but this time Yu confesses her feelings to Hikigaya and hugs him. He tries to separate and tells her that he cannot accept her feelings, and she knows it. The next day, Komachi and Hikigaya give the sweets to Yukino, and he promises to behave better with her mother next time, so they start eating the sweets, but Yu steals a bite from Yukino and tells her to be careful or she might steal it, but Yukino tells her that it's her property. Hikigaya wants to get in the way, but Komachi gives him a sweet to keep quiet, but when he's about to eat it, Iroha takes a bite and tells him that since it belongs to someone else, it tastes better. But everyone calms down when someone knocks on the door for help from the service club.